Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Barely Bookish podcast. Today, we are continuing on with Interview with a Vampire, part 2. There was a lot of withs in that statement, and it tripped me up a little bit. And I am joined by Candace.
Hi.
This little section, nothing really happens, but we're going to talk about the nothing that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I get why this section exists.
Mm-hmm.
Like I understand what they're trying to say, like what Rice is trying to say here narratively. I just feel like it's both too short and too long and like not completely relevant to the rest of the story. Like it feels like in anime when you get to like halfway through the season or like you're like right before like the big boss at the end, right? Like there's that middle episode where they're like, remember all the greatest hits? Remember when we did all these things? And it's like an episode you really just don't need to watch at all, except for like the last 5 minutes. They're like, and here's something you didn't know. And you have to like sit there for the entire episode so you can see that like one little piece that connects the two stories together. That's what this is.
It's like the Hot Springs episode.
Yes. That's exactly what it's like. Except instead of the hot springs, it's fucking the Transylvanian countryside.
And then they get like some mildly racist remarks about Germans in there, and they're like, "We need our own people." Like, what? First of all, you're not even really French. You're from New Orleans, which is like fake French. You know,
seriously, it's not like French people are like, who's French? Americans. Like,
get
out of here.
It's like the Canadian like people that only speak like French in an area of their country.
Yes.
I don't remember what those are called, like areas.
French Canadians. Yeah. It's a lot of Quebecois.
Yeah. But I'm like, you're not French, and we all know it. Okay.
Yeah.
Chill. Yeah. Relax. It's fine.
100%.
Don't be a French purist. It's weird.
It's super weird, especially when you're not even from France.
Yeah. Yeah. There's just a whole lot of Claudia being like, we need our own people. And I'm like, one, you're not a person.
No.
There's your original problem.
Yep.
Second, what?
You don't even know if Claudia is French, though. That's the thing, right? He just like finds her in like a random home. Like Louis is French, and he like his family immigrated from France, but like we don't know anything about Claudia. She might not be French at all.
Yeah.
Lestat is French. He's from France, but that's it. That's all we got.
Yeah, I guess because they raised Claudia, she's now French. But like,
I feel that though. That's why I'm Italian, because I was raised Italian by my stepdad. So yeah, that's fair. But I would never be like, I need my own people. On to Sicily we go. Like, that's,
yeah, it's like those people that are like so far. Like, sure, I consider myself back with my, familial culture. We still consider ourselves like Czechoslovakian. Would I say that I understand the things that people in Czechoslovakia go through? No, I've literally never been there. I would not consider myself Czechoslovakian at all. Also, seriously, that no longer exists. But besides the point, like, I just think it's a bold choice to be like, we need our own people.
I agree. It's a lot.
But so they're on a French ship called, my brain read this as, I think it's Mariana, but I read it as marinara the whole time. Like marinara sauce.
The good ship marinara.
that red sauce.
Mozzarella flotation devices.
So I was really, it's like me always pronouncing Louis in my head as Louis. Like I know it's wrong, but like
oh well.
Whatever. So listen, they're on
I called Hermione for an embarrassing amount of time. So don't feel bad.
It'd be like that though. Oh, so good. So we got this whole thing where like Louis still is not understanding the things that go on in the world around him. And he's like, yeah, there was like a huge fever going on. And it's Claudia just like licking her lips.
Yeah, man. I'm so unsure. What is happening? I don't.
Yeah.
We need to stay in our cabin away from this illness. I'm like, number one, you can't get the illness. Number two, I'm pretty sure you
Yeah.
are the illness. And number three, if
Yeah.
you're not the illness, who is?
Yeah.
Because,
Literally.
like, he acts like it's not Claudia. He's like, oh, Claudia and I are eating rats. And I'm like, well, first of all, she doesn't like that. So, yeah, right. And then, second of
Mhm.
all, even if she was okay with it, who else is on this motherfucking ship? Lestat has already
Mhm.
been fake dead one time. And
Yeah.
Louis is like, I'm always looking over my shoulder for Lestat. I'm like, you mean like when there's a fake fucking virus on the ship and people are dying with and without marks in their neck?
Mhm.
Louis is a dip,
Mhm.
man. I gotta say, like, I did not remember in this book that Louis is such a fucking dip. Like, he is basically a French New Orleans Valley girl in the 17th century,
Mhm.
the 16th, in the, what is it, 19th century at this point, I think we are. Like,
I think so.
he is so vapid. Like, Lestat should have gone after Louis's brother. Like,
Yeah.
it should have been Louis's brother. This would have been a whole different book. Louis's brother would have noticed all of the things, okay? All of them. Louis like, what could be happening? Why are people dropping like flies? I'm like,
He's so willfully ignorant too. He's like, oh, that's weird. I'm not going to investigate that further.
what?
Anyways.
And he's a vampire who like never wants to do vampire stuff. And like I get it,
Yeah.
right? That's the point of the book is he's a vampire who doesn't want to do vampire stuff. But like not even investigate things. Like every time I watch a horror movie and someone goes down into a dark basement, I'm like, you're a fucking fool. You're an idiot.
Mhm.
If that person were a vampire going to a dark basement, I'd be like, get him. Find all the
Get
clues.
him.
Figure it
Yeah.
out. You got vampire eyes. You don't even need light. Tell me what's down there and maybe I'll come with you after you're fine. Maybe I'll go. Right? Like
Well, it's like
he needs to be using his powers for good, but instead he's just like, not my problem.
literally. Or like his other thing is okay, if you're a vampire, you're telling me that if you hate eating people, you wouldn't figure out, oh, I could probably just have like a little taste of like 4 people instead of killing a man, you know? Like,
Yep.
how have you not figured this out yet?
Especially because they have thrall. Like they have thrall powers in this vampiric world. Like every vampire book author kind of tells their own little story. You know what I mean? Like crucifixes don't bother the vampires in this universe, neither does garlic. But like
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand that at all. Like there's definitely thrall. We know that Lestat, at least, and Claudia too, has power to not seduce people, but entrance people into
Yeah.
doing what they want. So like he could do that, right? That is a way that they could do it, right? Talk to somebody for a little while, entrance them, tap them a little bit, have a little snack, and then go to the next person, right? And
Mm-hmm.
everybody still lives. I think it's very interesting that like the way Rice kind of chooses to portray all of these vampires is very black and white, very like Jedi versus Sith. There's no like gray area at all to any of these vampires whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're either all in on eating everybody or you're like, maybe not. I'd rather just like, you know, be a nice person. And apparently only
Yeah.
Louis is that version.
Literally. Oh. Okay. Speaking of vampire books, I've been reading Charmed by Tracy Wolfe, which is like a modern day vampire-ish, werewolf-ish, dragon shifters-ish book.
Mm-hmm.
Also witches.
Okay.
It's very good.
Okay.
Highly, highly recommend if you're looking for a vampire book right now that's not gonna like it's not going to be like Twilight era vampire book where you're going to be like, ooh, these are all red flags. And
yeah, that's important.
maybe I feel like I shouldn't be reading this because it, you know, talks down to people and it has no diversity. If you're looking for something that's like actually inclusive and pretty freaking good, highly recommend.
Charmed. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's like oh no, the first book is not called Charmed. The first book is called Crave. I am on the book Charmed, which is like the 5th book. I think they're all like C words. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's very good though.
Okay. I will absolutely look that up.
Yeah. They're pretty chunky, but the audiobooks are on Script for free. So
ooh, nice. Okay.
And a couple of them are on Kindle Unlimited. So if you have Kindle Unlimited.
I do not.
No, it's
but
fine.
I can still look.
Probably get them from your library. They're like pretty like mildly popular. So either way, if you want your vampire fix, highly recommend.
Yes.
And then also if you read it, Candace, I will not talk to you until you're on book 2.
Okay.
Because you're gonna ask me about characters and I'm gonna be like, oh, oh, so
I'm
you
listening
say.
and I'm listening attentively to your criticisms and complaints. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And you're gonna be like, I feel like that dude is a walking red flag. And I'll be like, interesting. I love that. Thank you for this statement. Please get to book 2. I've been listening to Charmed on my morning walks, and it's very good. It keeps me company.
That's excellent.
It's delicious. I love it. Anyways, moving on to this more of the Lot of Red Flags book, which I still kind of love. I don't know.
No, it's great. Like, it's very juicy drama. It's very
Yeah.
juicy, especially because you're hearing everything. Like, I feel like if this book was from Lestat's point of view, first of all, the boy would have already been eaten. Second of all, I feel like it would have been a lot of like bravado. Like, every scene would be like, the world is so hard. Like, you'd still get like that drama that Louis is like, what am I to do with my life? Except Lestat would be like, why don't people love me more? No one loves me. I walk the streets at night. No one looks at me. Don't they see how beautiful I am? Like, it would all be very like self-absorbed. The boy's just like bleeding out of the neck as Lestat's like telling him like, so before you die, record my story so that it may live on in history. Like, fucking,
I love the accent you gave him.
Thank you. That's how he sounds in my mind.
He sounds. He sounds like that. All I've gotten is this little tiny tidbit of What We Do in the Shadows. The guy where he's like, in New York City.
That's a huge compliment. Because so there's What We Do in the Shadows, the movie, which is A+, and then What We Do in the Shadows, the show, also A+, related, but watch the movie first.
Okay.
If you can. The character you're talking about, he's the dark-haired vampire that has like longish hair, right? And he's kind of got like round cheeks.
Yes.
So that's Laszlo. In that show, everybody can kind of pick and choose who they kind of are. There is no one that I am more like than Laszlo.
Yeah.
No one.
Nailed it.
There's a scene where Laszlo walks into a vampiric library and he's looking around like, oh, wow, there's so many books in here. Look at how beautiful it is, right? And he's like looking at all the books. 2 seconds in, he finds the smut. And I'm like, oh, that's me. I find the smut. That's me. Yeah. I do that. Yeah. Very Lestat.
Okay, very good. So Claudia keeps pointing out different passengers on this ship and being like, I think she'll die to the plague next. And Louis still is not getting it at all. He's like, I don't know how she knows. It's so weird. And then Claudia basically gives us a play by, like, she is the method in which Anne Rice tells us how Lestat survived. And Claudia's like, I think what he must have done was eat every single thing in the swamp. And then he totally would have just crawled out of there. And then he would have gone this and like ripped apart someone going on a coach on the street. And then he would have made his way. And like, so basically the whole journey of Lestat to get to the point where he is in this situation of trying to kill them again,
right?
Which honestly,
like, personally,
cool with it.
Yeah, I was okay with that part. I just felt like it's an example of how Anne Rice does a lot of see and say stuff sometimes, instead of kind of just like letting the reader kind of slowly come to a conclusion about what's happening. Sometimes she's like, let me have a character download you on what's going on. And like, sometimes it's useful, sometimes it's helpful. But like there, it just felt like such an explainer. You know what I mean? Like it would have been cool to like have that kind of parsed out rather than like all like, and here's, it's almost like in a movie when they like plan the heist in like Ocean's 11 and you see like all the things happening like in sequence. That's how it felt to me a little bit, that part. Like it's not terrible. It wasn't my favorite.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was fine. I was like, because it would have been worse if we shifted to Lestat for 40 seconds and we're like, here, how did you get out of this mess? And like hand the microphone, because I hate when like characters know things that they definitely shouldn't.
Yeah, me too.
You know, I'm
Yeah.
like, what if we just like didn't?
Yeah.
You just like didn't tell me.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm into that. I like a bit of mystery because it allows you to, especially because we know that they're on the move. So I feel like they could have like found those clues along the way rather than like her being like, here's my supposition hypothesis. You know what I mean? Like this 5-year-old child vampire.
This the Tracy Wolf books I just mentioned, we just got this book of when she was in her mind palace. And like things that happened in there definitely would have changed how she reacted had she come out, but she had forgotten everything that she discovered in there. So now we get the book like months after it's happened in chronological order. And I'm like I love all this juicy, because like she kept alluding to it, and I was like, I don't know if I want a book about, you know, her and her mind palace. But now that we're having the book, I'm like, ooh, I love this, because like they keep, you know, characters would keep like hinting at things that happen, and she'd be like, I don't remember. I don't know what you're talking about. And then like it works out and things are fine. But now I'm like, yes, tell me all about it.
Fill in those blanks.
Yeah. And like couple chapters in, and I was like, I don't know. And then like by like the third chapter, I'm like, I know, I love this. I love this. Yes, excellent. And I'm like, now I know why you didn't explain it to me, because if you explained all the things that happened in your little brain, nobody would believe you.
Yeah.
You know? So it makes more sense that you're going and telling things about this way instead of having another character be like, remember when you did? Yeah. Remember when?
That's very clever. I like that.
Oh, it's so good. Please, these books are chunky. Do not be deterred. They're so good. And like, when you read the first book, you're going to be like, this is definitely this author's first book ever. Because it's very like texty lingo a little bit. It'll go away. Okay. It'll go away. Give her time to come into her own. It is, so good. So
super
good.
Excited. It sounds amazing.
Yeah. Because I didn't want another Twilight-esque moment, you know? And you will like this instead. Okay, I have to stop raving about it because I can go on and on and on and on and on. And I just need you to read it and then like live tweet me directly your thoughts, please.
Okay.
Also, I did not know live tweet like as a synonym of how I want you to talk to things about me, talk to me about things. I did not know that was like not a verb for everyone else. And I said that to someone the other day and goes, what do you mean? Like, you want me to put this on Twitter? And I was like, what?
I mean, you can, but
yeah, I mean, sure, if you want to, but like, I want you to live tweet to me. Like, is that not a like? Did I accidentally just invent this and everybody else figured it out, or like, is this something other people say, or like, I need you to know what I mean and like just send that over text, you know? I don't know. So let me know if anybody else in your life says live tweet, because I need to know if I was alone in that and everyone else just figured it out. Either way,
it's definitely a term in my life.
Okay, good, because I
both the Twitter way and the I'm going to be spamming you with text messages kind of way.
Good, excellent, because I was nervous for a second there. Claudia's like, there's no way Lestat survived that fire, though. Ha ha ha.
Famous last words.
Yep. I'm not sure. Louis is not so sure.
No.
Only one who is sure is Claudia, for sure.
Yeah.
So then Louis brings us to this moment where he talks about a night when he saw his sister, and she was like old and putting like flowers on Louis's grave because he supposedly died in the fire at his plantation. And I'm like, that would have to be the hardest part of immortality, because he's like, I couldn't go to her because if I was like, hey yo, I'm still here, I'm still fine, like it would drive her insane for the last couple of years of her life.
Absolutely. I also really like the kind of like implication too, like as they're like leaving on that ship and he has that vision of his sister and stuff. Like
Mhm.
one of the things that I do like about Anne Rice is that she does keep up with herself and
Mhm.
like the way that the characters are thinking, because when Louis talks about like them kind of being on their way out of Louisiana, he says,
Mhm.
"Oh yeah, there I can see the Frenier plantation and the um what's Louis's last name?"
Oh, I don't remember.
But he mentions he mentions his plantation.
Isn't like Delac or something?
Yeah, Dulac. Yep.
Yeah.
Pont Dulac. So he's like, he says like, "Oh, I can see the Pont du Lac and the Frenier plantations there in the distance," and we move on. Like he takes no ownership over it. He doesn't say, "Oh, my old house." He doesn't say the place I used to be from. He doesn't say any of those things. Like so much time has passed for him that they
Mhm.
are now just areas in this,
Yeah.
like in the palette of this town, this city that he belongs to,
Mhm.
right? Like this the state that he lives in. So like I do love that like she kind of went out of her way to like not have him kind of make that back connection. Like he still connects with the memory of his sister and that old
Mhm.
life, but when he talks about his actual home, like his family home, he like doesn't have any kind of kinship with it. So much
Yeah.
so that he talks about it like it's just any other place, which I found very compelling.
Well, it's like he even talks about himself as other when he's
Mhm.
talking about the grave. He said,
Yeah.
"Oh, there was Louis's grave." You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, like he's so detached from it.
Mhm.
And I think that that's such an important distinction because Lestat and Claudia never get that. There's
Yeah.
never really a before time, even though Lestat has his dad with him. Like there's
Mhm.
never a before for either of them. For them, they're just vampires. They're existing in this state at this moment right now, right? In this
Mhm.
mindset, in this body, whatever. But for Louis, he's like the before times, right? Like for him, there's a very clear split
Mhm.
and kind of two-way street of his life. And he sees it very acutely. And I feel like that kind of buys into his humanity.
Mhm.
Um, but the fact that he doesn't hold on to it kind of is a point in the vampire column. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
for me, like when I go home to Pennsylvania, like a lot about my city has changed. So I don't necessarily recognize all of it, but I still think of myself as being a citizen of that area because like that's where I used to live. I used to reside there. This was, my home. But for him, it's like he's so far gone from there that he doesn't even he doesn't even blink. He's just like, yeah, that old plantation everybody knows. Like I just really like that kind of just those little tiny flavor cues of like of like embellishment that she does
Mhm.
to kind of just sell through his like straddling of this line between humanity and vampirism.
I had this happen to me the other day. I went back to the town I lived in for like 10 years, and they had built up so much stuff. I was like a little confused.
Hmm.
Like, and that was weird. And I've only not lived there for like 3 years. And there's
Hmm.
just been like what used to be like a pasture is now apartment buildings. And I was like very thrown off about it. And I'm like, I don't really know how I feel. Like, because I can tell you right now, if I go back there in like 5 years, 10 years, I am probably gonna have a hard time getting to where I used to live, which is so strange for me. Because there
Hmm.
was like one road, there was one option to get where I lived. And like, I can already sense that it's not gonna be like that. And I'm like, what's that gonna be like for me without that attachment to it because I no longer recognize it. Like that's so
Hmm.
strange to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels almost like an out of body experience a little bit because you're just
Yeah.
like I know this, but I also don't know it at all.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something that, especially because people couldn't travel as far and wide as easily as they can today, I
Hmm.
feel like that's that kind of feeling, that kind of like feeling of like the past catching up with you or whatever. Like I feel
Hmm.
like that's something that people back then couldn't feel because they were always so close to where they kind of came from. Like you'd have like one major voyage in your life because it would take a bajillion years to get there by
Yeah.
ship, right? Like and then you would sit there and stay put pretty much, unless you were a pioneer and then you were, kind of finding new places and stuff, but it's not like that was a fun life to have being a
Yeah.
pioneer and probably dying. So that's what I mean.
Inevitably.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, inevitably just kind of calling it quits. Um, so yeah, I really like that about this. You get that kind of perspective because Claudia is never going to feel that way. Claudia only knows what's in front of her.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just, again, a child vampire is such a curse.
It really is. It's like the cruelest thing someone could do to you.
We're gonna get to the moment where she talks about child vampire army.
I immediately was like, no.
No. She's like, I wouldn't do that, of course. And I'm like, uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah. You also probably wouldn't try to burn another vampire alive, would you?
Yeah, right? Or kill off people one by one on this ship, right?
I mean, Jesus Christ.
So, there's a point where, Louis comes back to the present day and he's like, are you still like interested? Do you have any questions? And he goes, you'll tell me the interviewer was like, you'll tell me in your own time. I'm still having a great time just listening. And what a vibe. What a vibe.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like hanging on his every word.
Mm-hmm. This interviewer has it made right now. He has articles for the next like
40 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever seen the person, like the woman who does the If I Was a Teacher at Forks High School?
No.
I think about it sometimes because it's like she'll be in history class and then like there was a skit this woman did about being a history teacher and then talking about the revolution and Jasper getting really heated in the middle of class and being like, it's more than just like, whatever. And like then there's another point where it was talking about like different things in history class and Edward correcting her the entire time. I will send this to you later. It's
Please.
very funny.
Please. I would love to see it.
I'm a big fan of like skits about books.
Yeah.
That one is one of like the top tier favorites. Because there's like, they'll go into like a lunchroom and they're like, so does anybody else think it's weird that like all of those kids are like kind of dating and they also are kind of siblings, or like, are we not gonna talk about it, or like, and it's like the teachers gossiping and it's so good. It's so good. So many different parts of it. You're gonna love it. I'll just send it to you later. It's fine.
Oh, I can't wait. Okay.
And then just text me when you have thoughts and opinions about it. There's like a playlist and just scroll through all of them. Okay. Like,
yes.
Okay. Anyways. So in the present day, we also have someone walking around, and Louis does not seem concerned, but the interviewer like turns his head to see who's talking, and then suddenly we get cut back to the past, and I'm like, whoa, hold on. Can we go back to this moment for a second?
But what's going on over here? And it's
Yeah.
like, no, don't worry about it. I'm like,
Anne Rice is like, shuffle, move on.
But also I'm worried about it, so I don't know.
I know. As my little theory, I'm thinking they turned somebody else.
I mean, that's not untrue. I'm sure that they turned somebody else by the end of this fucking book.
Yeah.
It's funny. There's a lot that I remember, but it's mostly what happens in the movie. What doesn't happen in the movie, I'm like, what's that? And then I read it and I'm like, oh, damn.
Yeah. Ooh.
That's bad. That's not good.
I can't wait to talk about the TV show with you.
Same. Big same.
So
we like flash back to like wherever the fuck they land, right? Like they like get off the ship and like
they're basically I like the travel is just really dialed down. It's like, all right, so we get off the ship and then we go to a small town. Small town, everybody is very weird about vampires.
Yes, everybody's a fucking kook.
Like, I'm just imagining that they're like go from like a normal big city to the small town that's kind of like crosses everywhere, and they're like, all right, well,
this is kind of awkward. You know what this scene reminds me of? Like this entire part, like this scene is very reminiscent for me of when Jonathan Harker in Dracula, when Jonathan Harker finally gets to Transylvania and he's like in the carriage, and like the coachman is like, this is as far as I'll go, and he's like, but the castle, he's like, yeah, this is as far as I'll go. And he like kicks him out of the fucking carriage, and he's like got his luggage and shit, and he's like, oh no, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
Where do I go next? And like starts like hoofing it to Dracula's fucking castle, because the guy in the fucking cart is just like, no, we don't go there. No one in this city goes there. You will not find anyone to take you. Like, to me, this was like a callback to that kind of moment where like he gets to a village, everyone's like, let me see your eyes, hold this crucifix, sniff this garlic, sniff it. Like, are you sure you're not a vampire? I don't know.
Listen, if I was in an Uber and the Uber driver's like, all right, this is as far as I go, I'm like, actually take me back.
Yeah, you can take me right back where I came from. It's totally okay.
I'd be like, why? And they'd be like, you will never find a drive out of here. I'm like, all right, turn around. I'm canceling whatever appointment I had. I don't think I want to continue on this journey. Like,
dude, no.
I'll Google later, I guess, then. Yeah, we can go back to the airport, actually.
Number 1 on the list of things you could have said to me before we started this journey.
Yeah. You probably should. This Uber would have been so much cheaper if you just told me that you could.
Hey, bud, so this is the last we're going to hear from you. What?
Call your loved ones now before you get out of my
like, fuck that, dude. No. Yeah, like they get to the town and like that little old lady is like super mean. They like walk into the inn and it's like covered in crosses and garlic.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, the worst part is he's not even invited, and he basically like shoves his way through this door. He's like, all right, I need a room.
Not the warmest welcome though.
Yeah. And I like that he's just like, yeah, every town we go to, I try to get some juicy goss. I sat down by the fire, and it would be like, hey, so vampires or
yeah, I got bad vibes the second they stepped through the threshold.
Oh yeah.
And in my head, I'm just like, so none of you got, so all these people are like vampires, but none of them are looking at these 2 travelers that arrive in the middle of the night. Like the one main lady is suspicious because she's suspicious for everyone, you know? But like, I feel like the other people are like made more suspicious by this lady being paranoid.
Yeah.
And they're like all piled into the inn. Like the whole village is in the inn. I'm like, what are we doing here, man? Why are you guys being so weird? Just lurking around in the dark? But they're the weird ones?
I was nervous about the vampires that like exist, because I'm like, why are you not looking at the 2 random strangers that arrive in the night and be like,
no.
You know, like, what?
No.
So then we get this whole talk with this Englishman, and turns out the wife gets strained by a vampire, and I didn't know how to react to that, so I was just like, oop, that sucks. This town straight up ransacked. They're like, it's not even that much in the night, it's probably like 6 p.m. and everything's boarded over. Don't know why.
Curious.
It's so weird. So this Englishman tells them the story, and basically him and his wife were on their honeymoon, and he's an artist, and he's like, I want to go to small villages in the German countryside. This seems like a great idea. And first of all, terrible idea, bad plan. So they're like, we're gonna go to small villages in the German countryside, and they go to this village. The cart guy's like, yeah, I don't go any further.
Good luck.
Good luck. Take your stuff out on this property line, like on the city limits, and wheel it in. And then he's like, yeah, and as soon as we got here, people were doing this weird processional, and in the middle of the day, they're walking out into the graveyard, and everybody's in town in the graveyard, and with some horses, and the horse ends up over someone's, burial, like, grave, and they dig it up, and that's not weird at all.
Nope, that's fine.
Yeah, they dig it up, and then, so they, like, stake her through the heart, which is super weird. And, I just left my wife alone with all of our suitcases. I'm sure nothing wrong could happen there.
Everything's fine.
Everything's fine. He's like, of course she's safe.
Also, my wife is dead, so don't go in that room.
Yeah.
Don't go in that room. Whatever you do, don't go in that room. Louis is like, what room? Claudia's like, I'm already in the room. There's a dead body in here. It
Claudia's
doesn't
like, hey,
look too
yo.
gross. You should come in here and check it out. Come over here.
And then now that Louis is in the room, he's like, oh yeah, that's my dead wife. She, in the middle of the night, just woke up out of bed and, you know, went outside and just ended up dead on the vacuum. Yeah, just don't know what that's about.
But everything's fine, so just,
Everything's fine, I'm sure.
I don't see why this needs to be an issue.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, I'm just gonna take me and my dead wife and we're gonna go back home because we're on our honeymoon. Nothing bad could ever happen to us, obviously.
Oh my god. And he like loves Louis too. He's
Yeah,
like, Louis, you're all I have in this world. I'm like, what?
Yeah, that, and he's like, you, Louis, my fellow Englishman. Louis, not even English.
No. Louis is like, is that code for something? Claudia's like, yes, racism. He means you're white, is what he means. Okay.
I was like, aren't Germans white?
So they are.
Yeah.
But they're like ethnic white people. I'm playing this game right now called Pentiment. And it's like actually I think you would really like Pentiment. It's on Game Pass. So you play as like Andreas Mahler, who's like a painter. The 15th or 16th century. And you work in a scriptorium at a monastery, like at an abbey. And it's all about like that kind of turn of Christianity. The Holy Roman Empire falls, Christianity is king, and the church starts doing some shady shit like excommunication. Like Martin Luther is around at this time. Martin Luther's like, here's why the church is corrupt. Here's why things shouldn't be happening the way they are. This isn't Christian, whatever. And the Catholic Church is like, he's excommunicated, heretic, right? Like all that stuff's going on. And your job as a painter is to create a masterwork of like illumination, like those books that were really beautifully gilded and all that stuff. So that's what your character's job is. And basically it's like a narrative game where you kind of, it's an RPG narrative game where you like select, you make decisions and you make your character as like the things that he's proficient at. And then he goes through the town and talks to people and everything. And there's like a murder and you got to solve it, whatever. So in that game, Germany is not a country yet. It's Bavaria. So like all the capitals, like Salzburg, I think is in Switzerland, I believe, or Vienna. But like that city exists, right? Munich exists, I think. There's a few different like names of places that are still like cities or city states now, but don't exist under Germany or Austria or Switzerland or like, you know, Liechtenstein or any of the countries that are now considered Bavaria, like Germany controlled Bavaria, right? Like none of that existed at that point, but like England was still a thing. Paris was a city that existed. Like there's all these like you know, there's these other countries that already have their like, you know, their country and their government and all that stuff set up, but Germany is not yet a thing. Like it's instead this whole area of land rather than one country. So I think that like that's kind of like this situation where like that's where that kind of comes from, is like Germans are considered like ethnic white people, I guess, and English people aren't. I don't know. It's confusing. It's weird, but like there's definitely like a difference historically. I think like the way people were treated. Like I mean, even Italians, like Italians are also kind of considered ethnic white people as well. Like they have like their own thing they do to like English people, like to waspy English people. Like they're, you know, Irish too. I mean, the Irish, like pretty much anybody who's not English is like a type of person back then. They're like, you know, those sort of people, like very thinly veiled xenophobia,
racism. Yeah.
Hardcore nationalism going on.
It gives a little bit of a different take on the do you ever have to study that psychology thing where it was the Germans are different hypothesis after World War II?
Oh my god, no.
Okay, it's actually super interesting. So this is, you have to remember, it's been a long time since I'd studied this thing, but it was one of the things we talked about in our Scientology, Jesus Christ, psychology class, what the hell? And it was basically this whole theory after World War II that people created to say,
Uh-huh.
oh, I wouldn't do that. The Germans are just different, because they followed Hitler. They're like, I wouldn't do that. If you put me in that situation, I wouldn't do that. Of course I
I don't
wouldn't.
like that. I don't
Yeah.
like that. That
So
doesn't sound right.
this psychologist was like, let's put that theory to the test, and made up this entire scenario in which people were electrifying, like electroshock therapy patients, and there would be
Yes.
yes, yeah,
I remember that. There's actually a few movies about that. There's
Mhm.
an American version of a German movie about that experiment.
Yeah,
I think it's
yeah,
called
it's
like the
very good.
Stanford experiment or something like that. It's
Yeah.
I have heard of that. That's
Hmm.
terrifying.
Yeah, basically it was proven false. Germans are not any different than us in clinical studies. So
Woof.
um yeah, so it just puts a different take on that for me now, is knowing that that's also rooted in a whole lot of xenophobia.
Yeah, I would say so. That sounds
I mean, already I
that's
kind of was like, yeah, but now it like adds another layer on top of it.
right.
Yeah, we basically find out 1,000% definitely a vampire problem they're having.
Mhm. Mhm.
um So the gravedigger stakes this vampire woman through the chest that was in the grave. So
Yep.
basically, they dug up this woman who had been buried for 6 months and decide, yep, definitely vampire, because, no worms. Um,
That's a compelling argument.
yeah. So I don't know what the horse had to do. I don't know why the horse figured it out, honestly. I don't know.
Cuz the horse is smart, okay? The horse was like, "Nah, I'm good.
You know
I
when
don't
they
need this
use
drama in my life."
when they use dowsing rods? Like,
Yes.
yeah, this horse is basically a dowsing rod for vampires.
Walk the horse up to the creature. Oh, he won't go? Definitely a vampire.
Yeah. I mean, worst comes to worst, they stake an already dead body. It's not like the person's alive, so it's not like it matters.
That's true.
So,
That's true. Literally a no lose
yeah,
scenario.
little trauma for the family doesn't hurt nobody. I don't know. It's fine. So, they stake the woman. This dude still thinks it's totally fine to have his wife in this town and stay there himself. Um, and then he's like, yeah, and my wife just in bed with me. She gets lured out into the night with a cup of water, and then she's found dead out back. It's super weird. Um,
Nobody seems to want to talk about it, and now the
yeah,
whole village is in here for some reason.
yeah. He's like, I don't know, it's so strange.
Clueless. Literally the worst person for Louis to meet is another dip with a different accent.
Yeah.
Like
I love that Louis probably still even has a French accent. He's like an Englishman.
yes. You don't sound like whatever this is, so you must be English.
What's your name? Louis? Yeah, that's an English name to me. I've never been to France.
Dude. The way that they're so like low key about like the bullshit happening in this village.
Mm-hmm.
And Louis like, I'm gonna go out there, I'm gonna slay your demon. They're like, no, you're not. What are you talking about? You can't slay this demon.
Mm-hmm.
Shut the fuck up. The old lady is like, no, I'm not telling you where it is. You're gonna need to leave. Like she couldn't make up her mind. She was like, you need to get out of here. We're not having any more people in here. And then Louis is like, all right, I'll go. She's like, you're not gonna last out there. I'm like, do you want him to go or not? I don't understand.
Literally.
Are you just trying to tell him to leave the room with the dead body? Or are you telling him to leave your inn? Like, which is it, lady?
Yeah. And then she goes, by the way, I'm not telling you where it is, but also don't go to the ruins.
Then he has to like shake her. He has to do the thing where you like grab somebody and you shake the shit out of them until they tell you what you want to know. And she gives him like loose directions, like, don't worry, I'm just going to stay away from the ruins. And she's like, no, you're not. You're going to go there. And I'm like, man, this is some high drama for people who have known each other for literally 25 minutes.
Like, all I can imagine is Louis Bustin. All right, just paint this word picture with me. Louis opens the door, sees
Boom,
crosses and garlic hanging from the sky.
Yep.
Sees an entire village of sleep-deprived, scared people.
Yep.
walks up to the counter. 1 room, please, for me and my small daughter. I know it's 9 p.m., but we've been traveling, and we would like somewhere to sleep, please.
There's no sleeping here.
Next to the
Only
fire,
death.
there's a man with his arm up on the fire, staring in, glass of whiskey in his hand. And he's like, you're ruining the word picture, man. 1 arm up on the fireplace mantle, whiskey in his hand, tear stained, and he goes, would you like to see a dead body of my wife? Come to the
Louis
basement.
like, that could be a good time. Lead on.
Louis, who has been there less than a minute, is like, yeah, take me to the dead body of your wife. What happened here? Vampires, you say?
Extraordinary.
So strange.
Are you sure it was vampires?
They only hunt at night? Weird.
That's so strange. Also, I would have gotten here earlier. The horse was very slow.
Yeah, my horse is so tired. And my other favorite thing is the lady's like, you're going to have to take your horse in the stable by yourself.
Yep.
And then come back.
We will not assist you.
Well, yeah. I'm sure your horse is tired. Best of luck out there, soldier.
I love how like Claudia has to like take him by the hand. Like they go out, like finally they like leave the tavern, they leave the inn. Mm-hmm. And the guy is like, don't go. And Louis is like, nope, sorry, gotta peace out. This lady is too much for me. Mm-hmm. So he like leaves with Claudia and he's like having a panic attack like in the carriage, like at like, and I realized too, they're like steering the horses. So it's not even like they're in the carriage. They're like driving the carriage, right? Yeah. So like she's like looking around like, ooh, everything's so great. And Louis is like, I am going to die. You don't understand. I can't breathe. Not that I need to, but I can't breathe. And I feel like I'm getting a rash. I have hives. I have a fever. Look at my face. Am I flushed? Claudia's like, you are annoying the fuck out of me right now. Yeah, I'm gonna need you to shut the fuck up. She like touches his arm and is like, can you stop? I'm trying to enjoy this carriage ride. And Louis like, don't you see? Everything sucks. She's like, does it though? Like, we're in the countryside. It's really beautiful out. Like, look at the stars. Do you see that ruin? Look at the ruins. Look at them. Aren't they beautiful? We should just go over there. Louis like,
let's go check that out.
Right. I guess we should. And then she kisses him on the mouth and breathes his breath. And I
was like, what the hell is that about?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Especially because like in my brain, I'm like seeing like Brad Pitt. Because, like, obviously, I've just been steeped in the movie. So in my brain, I'm, like, seeing this, like, Brad Pitt Louis. And he's like, oh, no, they do. And then there's a 5-year-old doll that's like, oh, it's okay. With this breath. And I'm like, why is Claudia suddenly my cat? My cat does that to me. He steps up to me, puts his snout on my mouth, and then breathes my breath. And I breathe his breath. And I'm like, I mean, I guess it's not weird when my cat does it, so maybe it's not weird when a 5-year-old does it, but also it's weird.
It feels weird. Well, that's just like kissing his eyelids. Well, also you have to remember it's a 150-year-old woman in a 5-year-old's body, which makes it even worse.
Yeah, that's creepy, man. It's creepy.
It's creepy all around. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I have some questions for Anne Rice because this is a little weird.
Yeah. Like if she were 12 like she is in the movie, or like 10 or 12, however old she is in the movies, like it would still be weird, but it would be less weird than 5.
Yeah, for sure. Right now it's very weird.
Yes, exceptionally so.
So they get to the ruins. They see zombie, basically. They see this other vampire, which everything's rotting, and like there's no mind, like no form of intelligence.
Yeah.
So Claudia's like, yo, what the hell is that
what
thing?
What the fuck is that? And he's like holding a body, like they smell the blood before they see him. And like he's gigantic apparently and terrifying looking. Like his nose has like come off. So he kind of looks like Morbius from the terrible movie Morbius. And he's like really drawn looking. And they like go head to head in this like epic vampire battle that's not really that epic because dude does not have any skills whatsoever.
Yeah.
Claudia like defeats him with a rock.
Yep. And Louis like, that was terrifying. And Claudia's like, you fell over and did nothing. And I had to kill him with a rock. Keep in mind, I am 3 feet tall, and the rock was heavier than I am, so
Literally had to climb his body to
yeah,
get to him.
literally.
And Louis like, but who is this quarry that he was bringing with him?
Yeah.
And of course, it's the Englishman who
Yeah.
rushed out into the night after his stupid newfound companion. That
Yeah.
guy loves Louis so much. I'm like, why would you rush out into the night? Like, you know that it's not good out there. You know your wife just died from being out there. And you're
Yeah.
like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to follow this handsome stranger. Like, well, such a damsel in distress, this man. Just ridiculous.
Oh my god, I know. So good though. He's like my new best friend. Also maybe husband? I don't know.
I mean, I'm down. If you're down, I don't have a wife. So
Literally. He's like, I'm newly single and so ready to mingle.
And Louis like, yeah. So I did this thing. I kind of left that whole situation back in Louisiana with like a single ready to mingle husband situation. And I
Yeah.
feel like it just like wasn't a good time.
He's like,
I think I'm
can't
just
be
gonna
tied
stick
down
on my
again.
own. My daughter and I, we need someone who understands our lifestyle. And by that I mean we need to someone who's gonna understand that she's in charge.
Yeah.
Are you willing to be ruled by this 5-year-old? Then no. Okay, hard pass.
If you can't be in a carriage that's decked out with gold, I can't talk to you. My daughter only wears Versace, so
I'm so sorry, but no. Why is that Arizona jeans you have on? No.
You
Hard
bought that
pass.
from something called the Amazon? I'm sorry.
No,
What?
No. It's all right. Listen, you go and be English, okay? You're real good at it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stay over here and not be French.
Yeah, totally not. Not me. Whomst I? Anyways.
Oh my god.
So
And then she's like, and then Claudia's like, "Are you gonna eat him?"
Just- she doesn't know what kind of diseases the other weird vampire could have given this man, and she's like, "He looks like a light snack." I'm like, Claudia, girl.
She's like, "You're not just gonna leave him there. This is your best friend. You're not gonna like save your best friend from this eternity of laying in his own pooling blood. Like,
Yeah.
go have a snack." And Louis like, "What is wrong with you? That's not how you have a friend." And she's like, "I don't know. You made me a vampire when I was 5. Why are you being such a jerk about it? I don't know what friends are.
She's like,
I've never
morals?
had a friend."
What? Who they? She's like, I don't know. Someone prepared us this meal. It'd be rude to say no. Like it'd be
Like, it's right there. And then he's like, "You know what I'm gonna do? I'm not gonna like just chill, right? Like, I'm not just gonna we're not gonna chill. We're not gonna find like another part of the ruins that's inaccessible that we can sit in during the day. No, they're like, we're gonna go back to the inn."
Yep.
We're gonna tell them their vampire problem has been taken care of, despite not knowing who made this vampire in the first place.
Yeah.
Clearly, there is someone in this village who is making vampires, and they're
Yeah.
like,
problem
I don't know.
solved.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's somebody who's making them. Maybe they just happen. Maybe it's like a mushroom where like you can't really, control where it grows. It just pops up on its own.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah. He's like, and then send the priest, but maybe tomorrow night. I've had a very active evening. I think I'm gonna need to sleep all day, okay?
Yes.
And the townspeople feel like, oh, that's totally understandable, not a problem. Sounds good.
So ridiculous. Like, so ridiculous. But like, it's funny too, because like, that like back then when there was no internet to like warn you of things, right? And like word of mouth was very different, and like you're a completely different person in this completely different world with completely new people. Like, there was no regulation of thoughts or emotions or like truth or reality back then, especially when people weren't like educated. You know what I mean? There was no way for some of these people to even like read books to educate themselves so that they could understand what was happening to them. They kind of were just like, the crops are rotting because of the gods. And it's like, no, it's because you have not watered them enough, right? Like, they were just like, must have done something to piss off my god, right? Like, they weren't like, I can fix it, right? So I feel like in this situation, like, it's all just like, it's hilarious now, but back then I can't imagine how scary it must be. Like, you're in an inn, you have no visitors, suddenly a visitor comes, his wife immediately dies, and now you got a new visitor who has a 5-year-old who looks a little creepy, and you're like, I mean, I can't say no to him. I do run an inn, and I do need the money, but also, like, That must be horrifying. I can't even like imagine that. Like fuck that.
I'm so used to reading modern vampire books that like whenever they're set in like ye old times and they're like, what
Mm-hmm.
could it be? And I'm like, have you never read a vampire? Like, you've got glowing skin, your eyes, you're cold to the touch. Say it. I'm just like, come on, we all know. Like,
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie to
relax.
you. For a split second, I was like, so when he came into the light, he didn't sparkle? That's the
Yeah.
wrong book. Okay, I'm sorry. That's my bad. I did
Yeah.
that to myself. That was wrong.
I
Isn't he illuminated somehow? Doesn't he
yeah.
have an otherworldly glow? No,
I know,
nothing.
right? Nothing? Okay. Anyways, I do like the everybody changing up the vampire lore a little bit and like picking and choosing what works for their story,
Same.
you know?
Yeah.
So they're like, you need to have something otherworldly about it. Everybody has sharp teeth, right? So maybe not that. Let's see. Let's see. Glowing skin. What?
Good.
Yeah, that
Good.
works.
It works. It's fine. Good enough.
That way you can attend a high school in a weird town. All right. In this in the Crave series I told you about, it's they can only not go out during the daytime if they're on a quote proper vampire diet unquote.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is if they drink human blood then they can't go out during the daytime, but if they're on a vegetarian diet then they can go out whenever.
Ridiculous.
It's so good. It's
I mean, interesting, but also
yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah. There's a lot more mysticism, and they're like, I don't know why it works that way, but whatever. We're in high school, so it doesn't matter. You're gonna like it. It'll be fine. Just enjoy it.
Awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, Claudia's like, ooh, little snack for me.
Don't worry, I'll clean up this mess.
Yeah. She's like
Don't you lift
licking
a
off the
finger.
floor.
I'll do it again. It's fine.
She's like, it doesn't bother me to go back to a human diet that I totally wasn't on the entire time. Not a problem at all. But yeah, we got Louis decides that now the best way to find out hot vampire goss is by posing as a vampire hunter, which is very good. I very much enjoy that. But they are trying to figure out what makes other vampires so unlike them. They're like, there has to be some sort of reason. Let's go through all of your trauma, Louis. Tell me exactly what happened. But they don't have the reason that these vampires are turning into people, like non-people. So they're just like, well, I know what happened to me. I know what happened to you. I don't know what happened to these people. So they're trying to come up with any sort of conclusion. And then Claudia's like, you know what we have to do? We have to go to Paris. These German vampires are weird. So on they go to Paris, and that is where part 2 ends.
Yep.
I like it.
This whole little interlude, like I understand that part of it is definitely to also kind of break up this book, because it's like it's not super long, but it's definitely like a thick read. Like as we've discussed before, Anne Rice generally is a thick read because she loves lots of exposition for no reason. Like it's like 3 pages of conversation about what this ruin looks like in the dark. So
yeah,
like just like really serious about like describing stuff. But I feel like this little like mini kind of blip, like I like that it's kind of an intermission between America and Paris.
Yeah,
like I like that they kind of keep those separate. But I also kind of feel like it could have been an email, you know?
Yep.
It's a meeting that absolutely could have been an email, like a little 1-pager. And instead it is like, what is it, 40 pages?
About like I was prepared for it to be as long as part 1, so I was very surprised when it was not.
Thankfully, I think the rest of this book is not as long as part 1. I have little tabbies in mine, and part 1 is here.
Yeah, it's chunky.
And then part 2 is this little baby section right here.
Oh.
And then part 3 is also a big bad mamma jamma. but it's not as big as part
Yeah.
one. Part one is by far the chunkiest bit. And then the end, I think, is about as long. Yeah, part four looks like it's about as long, if not slightly shorter
Very
than
good.
part two.
Part
Yeah.
one I didn't plan for well, and I had to forego sleeping for a recording. So I have
Same.
since learned to do better and be better. Uh
Tighten
so
up.
yep. Yep. But it's fine. So we'll do part 3 soon, which will be next week for all of you listeners.
Woo.
Woo! But thank you so much, Candace, for joining me. Where can the people of the internet find you and your stuff?
You can find me on Twitch at Candace the Magnificent. That's Candace, Candace. On Twitter, you can find me at That Candace Girl. I've been kind of dealing with trying to figure out whether or not Twitter is going to like flame out. So you can also find me at the Magnificent One or Magnificent One on Hive. But I'm pretty sure that's also dead because it's only like 3 people and it crashes all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you like TTRPGs like Dungeons and Dragons and other, improv based live plays, please check me out on Twitter because that's where I post all of my links and stuff for the things that are going live. I am a GM and a performer. I also I'm also a variety streamer on Twitch, so I do a variety of video gaming kind of streams, some Lego builds, some solo TTRPG stuff, and ukulele concerts. I'll be doing some more of those in 2023, I'm hoping. And you can also find me at Candace the Magnificent on YouTube, where I actually have a lot of ice cream reviews. So if you're interested in strange and unusual flavors of ice cream from bougie brands, please look me up.
Yeah, do it. It's very good. But we will catch you all next week. We'll see you in the next chapter. Bye.
Bye.